Hi everyone. Hi everyone who has just tuned in. We are about to start our podcast show today, and this evening we will find out when will the property bottom and how do you invest in auction property. So join us on PodCat as we chat with Charles Tan, the founder and executive editor of copyandproperty.com, a leading independent Malaysian property blog. Charles is also an international trainer, a licensed auctioneer, and the CEO of 10 Auctioneers Sdn Berhad. So stay tuned while Charles will be sharing his top 3 property investment tips. And the session will be open for Ask Me Anything as well, which means anyone who is watching and listening, you can just drop your questions on the Facebook comments and we'll pick them up along the way. Well, so, hi Charles.
Hello, Catherine. How are
Hi,
you?
welcome to the show. Glad to have you on the show.
Honored to be on the show. I heard this is already episode 41. Wow, cool.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, thanks for introducing. So we are at PodCat 41, and we're going to talk about investing in property. So, for the benefit of audience, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Sorry. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, Charles. So
Yeah.
I was just
Okay.
saying, like, for the benefit of our audience, could you please briefly introduce yourself? Just a short, quick introduction of yourself.
Oh yeah, I've just written about 20 pages. So yeah, I'll start reading now.
You don't have to read. Just be
Hi.
yourself.
Hi. I'm Charles, the founder of copyandproperty.com. So this is a independent property blog in Malaysia. I believe it's a leading independent property blog. I write mostly property investment related articles based on my own personal experience and even my conversations with all the property experts in the industry. So in terms of giving talks, last year I gave about 52 talks across
Wow.
9 states in Malaysia and even in Singapore as well. Yeah. So in terms of some of the real estate engagements, I've been a judge as well for a few property related events. And my articles have appeared in most major mass media in Malaysia, including all the normal names that you know. I'm not attached to any developer. I'm not attached to any real estate agency. I'm not a mortgage broker, and I don't run courses. So my views are really just my views as someone who's like you thinking about property investment. Yeah, back to you.
All right, definitely good to hear. How you started out and you're independent as well. I do have a couple of questions for you, which I've always wondered about. Ever since coming across your property blog and seeing you at talks and all that. Firstly, why copy and property.com?
Oh
What's
yeah,
the story behind that
yeah.
name?
So this is a question that everyone loves to ask me. So why copy and property? About 7 years ago, I had a medical operation, and after that, I needed to rest in the hospital bed for a couple of days. Nothing to do, so I thought, why not start a blog? So in my mind, it was very simple. If I write just on property, maybe the audience is very small. If I write only on copy because I love lattes, then the audience is also very small. How about if I write both? Wow, then my audience is so big, right? So I wrote both, copyandproperty.com. Fine. So I wrote copy articles. Where are the good lattes? By the way, all the copy articles are still there. Yeah? Still in copy and property. Then after 1 month, I realized nobody likes to read my copy articles, right? So not many people reading it, but the property one, quite a lot of people reading it. So since the name has already started and I have like 1,000 overviews in 1 month, I thought, wow, 1,000 overviews is so much, right? So I continue copyandproperty.com and it has stuck there since then. Yeah. From the 1,000 view now, I have about 37,500 views every month, and it has been continuous. So on a daily basis, I write. On average, I have one article plus a little bit per day average.
Thanks for sharing on how the name came about, and yeah, it definitely catchy to me as well. Cause yeah, I'm a coffee drinker as well, and it's always good to see the consistency of the articles coming out as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's start with how would you actually describe investing in property to someone new?
Okay. To someone new, I think I need to share a couple of stories with you lah. Probably I share three stories lah, right? Um, the first question that always people have in their mind is renting is cheaper than buying. What do both of you think? Is renting cheaper than buying?
I
I
think
don't
it
think.
depends. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Catherine. All right. Yeah, I think it really depends on the market condition and all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
very true. Yeah. So if you look at the market condition, probably a couple of years back and even now, it's quite true. Renting is really cheaper than buying. Very good example. A 600,000 condo, for example, your mortgage repayment probably would be close to 3,000, but your rental is likely to be around 2,000, right? So renting is really cheaper than buying. Uh, and it's already confirmed that the rental that we pay to the landlord today, if you are renting, the landlord take the payment actually is not enough for his monthly mortgage, right? But of course, the landlord has no choice but to rent to us because there's so much competition. So many landlords with units they bought during the boom period, if you remember, 2009 to 2012, those boom period where everyone went in, and they don't want to miss the boat. Yeah, so in the end, now they are all in the same boat, right? So what happened is that as long as we are renting and the savings, remember just now that we were talking about the savings from the renting, we are investing the savings. Yeah, please continue renting. The only issue with people renting cheaper is that savings they go and spend it. So if they go and
It makes
spend
more
it,
sense to just
yeah,
buy right in that scenario. Okay. Okay.
yeah. So if you spend that amount and you still say renting is cheaper, then that is no longer true lah. Because the money saved actually you are not multiplying it. You're actually just spending it, right? And most of the time, that is what is really happening, right? And it comes to the next story, which is people ask me, should I diversify into property investment? I don't have a property right now. Property investment is compulsory, right? So if you were to ask me, is it compulsory for everyone? Actually, it's not compulsory for everyone, right? If you are super rich, that's it's not compulsory. You can rent all you want, right? For rich people, they can rent a whole island, right? They can buy an island or they can build a mansion, whatever. But for the majority of the working people, working Malaysians, one day we will retire. One day, right? At that time, if we have a huge passive income, fine, rent is fine. But when we retire and we have no income, then imagine paying rental for the next 25 years. Why do I say 25 years? Is because when we retire, say it's 55, right? Usually we will live to 80. So it's another 25 more years to go. Very simple calculation, right? Imagine the rental does not go up. So it's still 1,000 ringgit when you retire. Times 12 months, times 25 years, that's 300,000. Yeah. So think about it. This is the reason why it's compulsory. And I would like to tell you about a story when I was still studying in the UK. So there was this winter time, and I was speaking to my housemate, British, and I asked him, "Hey, how come recently I hear more ambulance sirens?" He said, "Oh yeah, it's now winter, so a lot of the homeless people who doesn't have a home, they are staying on the streets or staying under the bridge. They actually would die because of a cold or they fall sick, and that's why the ambulance go and pick them up." Actually, it's a
It's a
very
real
very sad.
concern. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a very very sad story, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not just in the UK. This happens in any country with winter and in most advanced countries as well. And of course, Malaysia, we have summer all year long, so we don't have winter. But just think about it. It's either you spend a little bit to pay the mortgage or you get ready 300,000 just to pay for rental and assuming the rental does not change. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of the next story that I would like to share, which is the final story, would be the property investment return on investment. So there's a misconception that property investment, every year the property price goes up by 5%, so my return is 5%. That is totally untrue, because if you are investing in any other medium, like for example stock, like for example unit trust, then if you invest 10,000, right, into the stock, it went up by 5%, your return is 5%. That's very, very true. But for property, when you invest 10,000, usually it's a 10% down payment for 100,000 home, right? So when the price goes up by 5%, that is already 5,000 ringgit. Yeah. So that is a super duper difference between the normal investment and the property investment. Yeah. And this is the reason why, like I said, a couple of things that someone new must understand is that first, renting is cheaper than buying if you actually use that savings to invest, right? How do you invest? Please read my personal finance Facebook, lots of articles, right? Secondly, property investment is not some form of diversification. Property investment is compulsory, right? Unless you intend to keep paying rental, then that is fine. Third, do not look at property price increase as the return. It is not, because it's usually return on investment means how much you invest. It's not based on the property price itself. Yeah. So these three stories that I normally would love to share with someone new into the property investment.
Those are definitely good stories to share, and I'm sure it triggers some other questions along the way as well. So yeah, we are taking live questions from the audience as well. So feel free to drop any questions, whether you're tuning on Facebook or YouTube. And yeah, we have Charles here to answer our questions, all property investing related today.
Oh, thanks, Charles. Those three were definitely very interesting in stories. But I was just curious about your own experience when it come to investing in property.
Okay. My own experience. Actually, my first property was an apartment. It was a 730 square feet apartment. Why did I buy my first property? So there was this one time when I wanted to get married, right? So I went to my at that time still not father-in-law, right? So the nearly father-in-law
Future father-in-law, okay.
future father-in-law, right? So I told him that we are getting married. So my father-in-law looked at me and said, "So where are you staying?" I said, "Oh, currently I'm renting a room, but once we get married, we will rent a house." Wow, so happy. He looked at me and said, "It's best to buy a property." He did not smile. He did not show his anger, but I realized that I better buy a property, right?
Sounds quite serious as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we came back. My wife and I started looking around, and in the end, we bought our first property, which is a 730 square feet apartment in Penang. Yeah, that was the first time we bought property, and that was the first time that we realized, we actually can afford to buy a property, and we are not going to go bankrupt or anything, right? Yeah. But after we bought the property, then we realized, every month we really needed to make sure we have the money to pay the mortgage. So I guess that is a very, very good experience, and very good to build up your discipline in saving money. And with that, then probably 2 years later, 2 years or 3 years later, we came across a condo, right? It's very nice condo. We are very, very happy with the condo, and we thought, wow, this is such a nice condo. We must buy it. We look at the price. So the first apartment was 123,000. The condo was 258,000, 238,000. So it's like, wow, it's like double the price, right? We thought we will go bankrupt if we buy the condo, right? So we did not buy the condo. So sad. We were very, very sad. We went home, very sad. 2 months later, our parents came. So her parents, my parents, they came to Penang, had some food, and then I said, "Hey, why don't we go and see the condo again?" Right?
Still on your mind, yeah?
Yeah. By the way, at that time, the unit that we want, it is still there. So you can imagine how slow was the market. We wanted that unit, 2 months later, we went back. That same unit is still there.
Wow.
That's how slow the market was. Anyway, both the parents, my parents, her parents, love the unit as well. So I told my wife, don't worry now, we can buy. Because if something happens, they are the ones who say they love it, ma. So they better help us if something has to happen, right?
So you have the
So
pharma bank to back you up, yeah, at that time.
yeah. So anyway, we had savings and we bought the unit. And after we bought the condo, then of course we managed to rent out the first apartment. And yeah, I mean the rest will be history already lah. Then it will be the third property, the fourth property, and so on. But property investment, like all the surveys, like all the studies have shown, actually once you have the first property and you have no issues in saving money, then your second property will come, and then later on the third, the fourth, and so on to come. So this is something good about property investment. And if you look at historically, right, so over the last, say, 30 years, 40 years, actually property prices have only been going up. It has never been, 40 years before it was 80,000, today it's still 80,000. Hasn't happened before, right? So all those places that we know today, like for example, Sunway, right? Wow, Sunway. Actually, the first batch of Sunway landed properties was below 100,000, everyone. Below 100,000, right? Don't you wish, I should have bought, 100,000 at that time. Yeah, I mean, that is the property investment. And I mean, my journey has been very fruitful, very happy so far, my investment journey for property. But of course, to me, it's very important to diversify. So I besides property investment, I also think very highly about stock market, and I'm also a serial investor in public mutual as well. Yeah.
Okay, good to see your diversified investments, and yeah, I can definitely relate to you in certain things as well. Yeah, my first property was condo as well in Penang. As well. I also have a regret story. That I saw, wow, 500,000. At that time, it was actually before the most recent property price spike. And it's like, wow, 500,000. And then after that, yeah, there's regrets that I didn't buy it at that time because the property has got doubled by now actually. So that's definitely a lesson to be learned from that. Yeah. So just now when you say that property prices always appreciate, is that specifically for just residential properties? Is that the same for commercial properties as well, that the prices will not go down?
So property prices, everyone always asks, why would one day property prices be unaffordable, right? That is a usual question that we always ask. Like today we have people complaining that, wow, so unaffordable. Actually, property prices have always been unaffordable. I'm not joking, seriously. When my parents first bought their property, 35,000 ringgit, right? 35,000. So just imagine, by the way, 35,000 is huge at that time, right? My mother's salary is a couple of hundred. At my father, it still cannot reach 1,000, right? So at that time, it was super huge. And it's a super huge house. It's a semi-detached, 3,000 over square feet house, right? 35,000. At that time, they told me that they struggle like crazy to afford that house. Because at that time, even the banks don't lend you so easily. So you better have lots of down payment to buy the house. Otherwise, you just can't get it. There's no bank loans to help you, right? And then we come to my time, right? My wife and me. Even 123,000, we think, so cheap, right? Actually, no. When you think back, right? At that time, her salary and my salary, then every month we have to pay the maintenance fee, have to pay the car loan, the apartment. Wow, actually it's not affordable. Then we can't travel here. We have to skip a lot of expenses, right? And then today, people say, it's unaffordable. First half this year, first half, we have MCO, right? Remember? We have COVID-19, we have MCO, we have pandemic, we have everything closed, right?
Yeah, first half, 2020, yeah.
75,000 transactions for residential property. First half, everyone. And you were saying what? Unaffordable, right? Then this 75,000, who are they, right? You think about it, who are they? And then the more surprising thing is, everyone say, it's hard to get a loan, These 75,000 people bought a house, got a loan. Simple. Understand or not? There's no such thing as, unaffordable or affordable. And then we come to the property price. Why do property price keep going up? Very simple. Because of inflation. When you do the same job every year, right? Even if you are an admin, right? You do the same job every year. Do you get paid ever higher every year? Surely you will have 5% increment, or 6% increment. You jump to another company, you get a 10% increment, right?
Yep, that's very normal. Yep.
Yeah, when you get paid higher, you can afford to pay a little bit higher for the property. And that's why that particular person can sell his property at a price which is higher than the price he bought many years back. The property price has just gone up. This same reception would get married, husband also another admin, and add up together, they can buy a bigger house. And guess what? They pay slightly higher for this bigger house. And that's how prices keep going up. Because people can afford it. That's why it goes up. And the question, right?
Charles, it's a constant inflation that's affecting upgrading of the properties. Okay.
Yeah. And about the unaffordability, right? So will property prices be unaffordable one day? Think about it. If property prices were unaffordable, that means the developers all close shop. Because it's unaffordable. Why build? Right? When developers close shop, the construction companies all close shop because there's no need for construction people. It cannot get unaffordable. It will always be affordable. The only change is today, Steve, you bought a property of 1,000 square feet for 500,000, right? Few years down the road, if you can only afford 500,000, what happens to the size of 1,000 square feet? It goes down to 700 square feet. Still 500,000, yeah, but 700 square feet, right? Or today you bought somewhere in KL city center for 500,000, 1,000 square feet, right? Few years down the road, what happens? In the KL city center, you cannot buy 500,000 already, but you can buy, let's say, in Kepong for 500,000, right? Few more years later, Kepong, you cannot buy 500,000 already. Then it might be Sungai Buloh. You get my meaning? Yeah, this is how property price continue to change. So the question that everyone has is that, will all these far away places increase in price? That is not the right question, because the right question is, will the city center increase in price? It will never happen where Rawang increase in price, then Sungai Buloh increase in price, then Kepong increase in price, then only KLCC. Doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. It's always KLCC increase in price, then Kepong follow, then Sungai Buloh comes, and then Rawang comes. It's as simple as that, right? In all advanced countries, Melbourne, Sydney, Singapore is always from the CBD, then move up, right? Yeah, at first 500,000, right? 1,000 square feet, right? Then become 500,000, 700 square feet, right? Then become far further away, 700, 500,000, right? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Yeah, it always definitely starts from the central business district and then expands outwards. I think we're already seeing that, units just to maintain affordability are getting smaller. There are more developments, more, towards the outskirts as well. I'm curious as well, like for Catherine, being a Gen Z as well, what's your viewpoint on all this? Yeah, or millennials? Yeah.
Are you talking about whether to invest in property or at our age?
Yeah, whether to invest in property or is property becoming increasingly unaffordable, from a millennial viewpoint.
I guess it's what I see people around me is almost 50-50. Like 50% of these people, they think like property is a must. I must buy it. And then they buy based on what they want instead of how much they can afford. This group is the group that I always worry about as a financial planner point of view. I always think, is this the right thing you're doing? As for myself, like I don't think property is something that I know a lot about. I know
Mm.
it is important, but as compared to the other investment that I know, like I
Mm.
know more about them. But property, there are just
Mm.
so many things to know about, to understand, to what about this developer, what about this area, what about this
Mm.
price. There are just too
Yeah.
many things to touch about. That which is
Mm.
why to me, I tend to let it set aside. I rather invest
Mm.
on companies
Yes.
that are in property
Yeah.
industry instead
Yeah.
of the real property itself. As long as I
Yes.
still have a place to stay, like yeah,
Yes.
I'm the other 50% instead of the
Yeah.
50% who just buy what they want. The
Yes.
the main area, like the bigger it is, the better it is. I've really heard a lot of like people around
Yes.
like me that has this kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Right, right. Thanks for sharing that, Kat. Yeah. Charles, do you have any advice, for
Yeah.
for millennials,
Yeah.
Gen Z people like Kat as well?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, for Catherine, she has no issues because she's actually investing, right? The more important thing is whether you invest or you do not invest, right? It's not whether you buy a property or not, because if you invest and your returns are good enough, actually later on you can still buy a property. In
Mm-mm.
fact, the thought about dream home. Just now, Catherine was saying about the friends buying the place that they want, right? It's a dream home concept. Dream home concept, skip aside. There's no such thing as dream home. You see, when I was younger, me and my wife, that first property, that was our dream home. Seriously, we went to view probably 40 units, right? And that is the unit we love because it has the kitchen, it has the living room, which is big. The rooms are smaller, but we are fine. We love a bigger living room. It has a good balcony, right? That's our dream home. Guess what? 3 years later, we saw a condo. Ah, yeah, this dream home throw away. We want the new dream home, right? Yeah, and so on and so forth. There's no such thing as dream home, right? So Catherine has mentioned a very important point. If you intend to skip property for now, fine. But you must remember to invest your money now, right? If you today you only spend all your money, I think better invest in property lah. At least it forces you to put the money aside. You have no other choice because otherwise the bank will make you bankrupt, right? Once you get the property, you have no choice but to keep giving money to the bank. But 10 years later, you realize, not bad, the property price has doubled, for example, right? But that is
Mm-mm.
later on. For now, just focus. And for millennials, right, actually, you have one super advantage versus me or versus Steve even, right? Your age right?
Technically, I'm still millennial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Don't leave him out.
yeah.
He's still a
So
millennial.
so you can stretch the loan much longer, right?
Mm.
And then that's the thought about, hey, I stretch my loan longer, then by the time I finish paying, the house price would have doubled, would have tripled, whatever. That is 30 years later lah.
Mm.
Everyone
Mm-mm.
buy the property so that you can afford the payment and have no issues, and whatever savings you have, you invest, right? So that you can still invest, because if you were to only be able to afford 800 and you buy 800 ringgit property, that means you have no other investment, right? You cannot even save for unforeseen circumstances. No lah, that is super dangerous. In that case, don't touch property, right? But with the millennials, you have a super long repayment period, so you can afford to buy a property and then still be able to stretch it so that the monthly repayment is lower than even rentals, for example, right? That is a advantage that you have. Plus, millennials nowadays really, really different from the Gen X. Gen X, like that means like that. Millennials, learn this very fast. You can learn a lot of things, actually. So even if you look at the investment, for example, tell me how many Gen X can invest like millennials today? None lah. Their usual investment is FD, FD, FD. Now they realize, FD below 2%, right? Now they start thinking, what should I invest in and things like that. Millennials, long time already. You learn so many new things. You learn about REITs, you learn about stock, you learn about the cryptocurrency, you learn everything, right? This is your advantage. But of course, as someone who is slightly older, I tell you lah, property is really, really good. Yeah. Over the last so many years of investment, I can safely tell you that return wise, it has never been worse than any other investment. It has been always pretty good. Just beware that if you don't have enough knowledge, like Catherine says, she has not learned enough, then don't simply buy lah, right? Because when you buy an overpriced property, you will still die lah, huh? Like they say, if I buy an overpriced property, then you better be ready to hold for a very long time, right? Yeah. The good point is today is very transparent, right? All the property transactions, you can go to online, you can see the property transaction prices, right? So immediately you can understand, this area, it should be around 500 per square feet. Why are you selling at 600 per square feet? Don't buy that lah, right? You have the information. Long time ago, during my time, there's no such information, right? It's either, I'm lucky, or I'm unlucky. That's about it. Today is different. All the information is online, right? So by far easier to invest. Yeah.
Yeah, information technology has definitely changed, generations to come, and how we invest even as well. Yeah.
Yes.
We have a question from Daniel.
Wow.
So,
cool.
Do rent-to-own schemes help to lessen the burden for first-time property buyers who are looking to own their first house? Or what about the moratorium? And do these schemes have MRTA?
Yeah,
That's 3-in-1 questions.
Yeah, I guess the first question is does this scheme help lessen the burden for first-time home buyers? Definitely lessen because there's no down payment involved now, right? So rent to own, you go in and start paying the installment or they call rental, and then 5 years later you decide whether you want to buy or not. If you intend to buy, that rental that you pay, some portion of it will go into the down payment, right? So this is definitely a very good scheme to lessen the burden for first-time home buyers. But if you were to ask me, I think first-time home buyers should save some money and buy something which is more affordable to you. Because rent-to-own scheme, the only issue is not the scheme, the only issue with the buyer. Because if the buyer thought, I can just enter and I can just pay rental, many times this will make them buy something which is higher than what they should be buying many times, right? And this will not because of the scheme, but this is because the buyer, then you burden yourself because of that, right?
You'll try to get as much house as you can, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely. So you thought, I can afford this. Actually, you cannot afford. You don't even have the down payment. It's just that they don't need down payment. They allow you to go in. That's about it, right? This is a downside of the buyer, not the scheme. So the scheme is a very good one. So it helps the first-time home buyer, right? The moratorium, of course, the moratorium is ending end of this month, So for those people who have to pay, they will have to start repaying very soon.
And that's just 4 days, from today when
Yes. So I actually wrote an article as well. So if you have a need to extend, right, and you really face financial difficulty, talk to your bank, right? Generally, if I'm the bank, I won't want to make you bankrupt, If I know that you are out of job, you just need a few more months extension, I will extend for you. Seriously. You know why? You see, if your repayment is 2,000, right? I extend for you for 3 months, right? What is my cost? 6,000, correct? Am I right? I extend another 3 months, 6,000, 2,000, 6,000, right? Let's say I take back the property from you. So I make you bankrupt, I take back the property from you. And I sell the property in the market under auction. You think my loss is more than 6,000 or less than 6,000? More than 6,000. Because the current market, the property price that you can sell is actually below market price in an auction. Yeah. And that's the reason why I think I better let you extend because that is 6,000. If I take back and I sell 500,000, I may sell at 450,000. That's 50,000. Yeah, understand
makes
that.
sense definitely from a business bank as a business point of view. Yeah.
Yes. That's the reason why you look at all the banks, right? They are doing their very best to tell the homeowner, come, talk to me. right? Bank Rakyat is open 7 days a week. CIMB is like what? Last 2 weeks every day, right? Maybank also the same. Bank, these are what? M Bank also the same. They are doing their very best to make sure you can repay them later on lah. If you really have problems, if you don't have them, you better start repaying lah, right? The schemes MRTA actually, you better check with the person who is the scheme owner lah, right? Like house key, check with house key, yeah. Okay, hope that answers.
All right. We have a next question from Xiaomin.
No,
If you're buying, yeah, someone if you're buying property from collecting rental income, is it
yeah.
better to get a small unit or a bigger unit?
Yeah. So thank you, Xiaomin. A very good question. In fact, many years back, a founder of a very famous personal finance site, comparison site, also asked me the same question, right? Actually, the first thing that we have today is information, right? So if you intend to get rental income, do not look at the house first. Look at the rental first. Go to any property site, go under rental, and then look at the rental, and then look at the property price, right? So if the rental is 1,006, everyone is renting 1,006, it's 1,006, right? Then you go to the property price. The property price that you pay, can it be good enough for you to get rental and cover the mortgage? If it's good enough, yeah, go ahead and proceed. Small unit or big unit actually depends on how big the unit lah. If it's anything which is 1,000 and below, I think it's still considered a small unit. And if you ask me, actually I have a 500 plus square feet unit. Renting has been many years. The rental return has been very good. I also have 1,100 square feet in Penang. Rental has also been very good. So it's very hard to say whether it's a bigger unit better or a small unit better, right? And of course, you also come to the next question, which is you want to rent to student, you want to rent to office people, you want to rent for Airbnb. Actually, it's not just this one question, Xiaomi, because you will need to answer all these questions in order for you to get the right unit. So if you say, I want to collect rental income via Airbnb, then of course the calculation will be a little bit different because you can do it yourself or you can get the agents to do it. If you get the agents to do it, half of the rental goes to the agent, right? So all those calculations you will need to do, and you need to decide what kind of rental income you want, right? So if it's a long term and you want to rent it to student, yeah, then of course a small unit, right? Because usually one student would prefer one unit by himself, to himself, right? Not many people would love to one unit, 3-4 people. Sometimes it's not that convenient, right? So long time ago when I was still a student, maybe one whole house, 20 people. Today, the millennial student, right? Catherine, what do you think? You prefer fewer people or one whole group of people, right?
Well, I mean, back were my days when I was still in college, I used to stay in a property that they have partition of 10 rooms in one double story like terrace house, which is very common in like the prime area like Subang and Suntec. Yeah, I guess it's still common right now. Or I guess like the more fortunate kids nowadays are staying in probably like 3 rooms, or they get one room for themselves, or like if their attached bathroom and all this.
Yes. So again, this is a question that you would have to answer, right? So do you want office people or do you want a family, for example? All these questions you will need to answer before you are able to just get an answer to, should I buy a small unit or a bigger unit? Like I mentioned, I have both small and big. So far have been okay so far.
But of course, it's back to like location is a more important point at this.
Correct. And the location again depends on your answer, right? You said, look, I want student, then definitely a university nearby, right? Walking distance, right? If you say I would like working people, then office buildings nearby near MRT near LRT those kind of stuff would need. I mean, if it's to student, walking distance the LRT MRT doesn't really work that well If it's working professional, still can LRT MRT.
Mm-mm. But talking about this, there are also a lot of property agents that are using the potential rental income
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to entice people to invest on those
Yes,
properties. What do
yes,
you think of
yes.
those?
Yeah. So potential rental income, like the name mentioned, is potential rental income, lah,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I mentioned, when you want to buy any rental income kind of property, look at rental first. Seriously, not look at the property price first. Look at the rental income first, right? Go to the site, click the rental. There's a rental button. There's a buy. There's a rent, right? Click on the rent first. Then you look at all the property that you love, that location you love, the rental, 1,006, 1,006, 1,006, 1,006. Okay, fine. Now you love this, and then go back to the price, and you find one which can meet the 1,006. Buy that one.
Mm.
Use
But when it
information
comes,
advantage.
but if it comes to like new property that's a new build up, there's so much uncertainties, right? You wouldn't know,
Yes,
even though like the same area can be renting at 1,000, but the next
yes,
building, like you wouldn't know like what kind of
yes,
building when it come out. There's just too many uncertainties.
yes. Definitely. That's why if you ask me, I want rental income. Secondary market would be a much more stable and safer choice. What you see is what you get. What rental is in the area is what the rental you will get in the area. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, talking about this, could you please share with us 3 tips on investing in property?
Three tips. Actually, there's a lot of tips, but
Yeah,
but
if we have to pick three.
probably, yeah, probably the first tip is, don't wait for the best time to buy lah, right? People always ask, when is the best time to buy? Is now the best time to buy? But by the way, there's no such best time to buy, because the best time to buy, for my parents, for example, was when they bought a property long, 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 long time ago, right? The best time to buy for me was probably 15 years ago. So the best time for someone 20 years later to buy probably is today, lah, right? The only issue is, do not overstretch, right? And do not be greedy, because otherwise that might be the end of the road, lah, because this is a few 100,000 decision that we are making, right? And tip number two, actually, if you love any primary spot, right, a certain area you love, you can buy surrounding the area. Doesn't need to be the primary spot, right? So surrounding is fine, right? Third thing is something which Catherine mentioned, right? You need to understand first before you buy. Understanding what you need and know what your friends say, right? And property investment is really an investment. It's not speculation, right? A very good example was a friend who bought a property in an area which he does not like, right? I don't want to mention area, later the developer in that area, angry with me. So he bought that property, right, in that area, which is quite far from KL City Center. He was renting a unit in KL City Center, renting a unit, right? And he bought a unit far away from KL City Center. Completed, give key, and then he could not rent it out, because the whole block, everybody wanted to rent out. Whole block, everybody had the same thought: buy, rent out, buy, rent out. Everybody, the whole development. Then I asked him, then why not you just uh, stop renting your unit in KL city center, and then move there, right? It's a little bit far away, but you do save rental, right? He said he doesn't like the area. Then why did you buy? Because the salesperson told me this area sure go up, got potential lah, got what lah. Actually, if you buy a
Hi,
unit that you can accept, right? A unit you can accept, then at least if anything goes bad, stop renting and you go and stay at that place lah. It's fine, right? No, regardless of what happens. Yeah. So that is the three tips that I hope is good enough for everyone.
thanks for sharing those 3 tips. Definitely, yeah, especially like the last one as well, about having a backup as well. Yeah. We also ran some questions on some of our Facebook groups as well, and this was actually one of the top questions that was asked: when will the property bottom?
Okay. This is a very, very good question. So the bottom, now I give you the answer. the bottom for my parents, right, was when they bought the semi-D in Ipoh for 85,000. That was the bottom for them. Why do I say so? Because today is 540,000. How do I know? Because my cousin and my brother go and buy a unit on the same place, opposite road, 540,000, right? So when was the bottom? When my parents buy 85,000, that was bottom Can never be bottom than their bottom already, right? What about the bottom for me, right? Bottom for me was probably 15 years back, right? So I bought my first property outside, my second property outside Penang in Kelana Jaya, okay? 1053 square feet condo, 183,000. That was the bottom. If at that time I knew it was bottom, right? I should have bought like 3-4 units, because I sold the unit for 460. Everyone, 183, 460. Bottom or not? Bottom. That's bottom of the bottom already, right? So bottom for everyone is really, really different, right? And seriously, if you guys invite me 20 years later on this show again, the bottom now the bottom is the now, right? When we thought, this kind of property sure cannot go up. 20 years later, then Catherine told me, double already, right? Like Steve also said the same thing in Penang, the same property also double, right? It's not so much of the property increasing in price so much, it's also because the inflation, of the demand, because people could afford them. Yeah, so the focus is not on the bottom. The focus is whether the property is worth it or not, right? If all the transactions are 500,000, right? It's 500,000, but because of the current market slowdown, the prices now is 450,000. It's worth buying. It's seriously worth buying. If all transaction is always in 500, now you found a 450,000 unit, worth buying, right? If it's all 500, now they are selling at 600, but then they give you rebate, so become 500,000, not worth buying not worth buying, because that cashback that they give you, they are giving to everyone who are buying, right? So imagine 500 people all got the cashback. When hand over the key to you, everyone wants to sell. You cannot sell at that price that you paid for. Is the minus the cashback, right? So the bottom depends on you, right? Look at the property that you love. Look at the transaction. There's a good value, can buy. That's the bottom already. Yeah, and I really, really have to salute those people who long time ago bought into Sunway. Sunway are all mining land, right? Everyone say, Sunway cannot. Yeah, the first batch of people who bought below 100,000 landed property, you are awesome, right? Or even Puchong, another mining place. Those people who bought the landed in Puchong long time ago, the city center one, I salute you. That's the bottom for you already. And what about the this one Utama, right? The area where it's all hill, red ground. Yeah, those people are awesome, right? That was the bottom for them at that time, right? Don't ask when is the bottom. Ask, have you identified the property or not? If you have identified the property, look at the transaction, decide, right? And if you look at the interest rate, Steve would actually be able to tell you the interest rate has never been this low, never been, right? And the fact that they decided not to touch the OPR in September this month already tells you that the economy is on track for recovery. Because if the economy was not on track for recovery, they will reduce the rate further. Yeah.
So it was very close, I think, but I definitely agree that looking at how the economic situation was, that it was the right decision. Looking at that.
Yes. Yeah. So there's no need for them to reduce at the moment, because the economy seems to have stabilized and start to turn around, right? So if you look at economy, if it really recovers, then next year interest rate may even go up. Yeah, many people don't realize that, but it can go up when the economy really starts recovering. Yeah.
There's also another very popular question from our audience, which is knowing that you are also a licensed auctioneer. So the question is, how do you invest in auction property?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, but this question, not everyone can invest in auction property. I'm serious, right? Like Catherine, if you want to invest in auction property, what you need to have is the full price of the property first, right? The reason is very simple. If you cannot get a loan for the auction property that you just won in the bidding, you have to pay in cash to buy the property. Otherwise, you lose your 5% or your 10% deposit. Very sad story. This is not like buying from a developer where you pay the deposit and then your loan got rejected, they give you back a deposit, right? Or even from the owner, if your bank loan got rejected, they will return you the money. In the auction market, if you are the winner, you better get ready the money for the auction property. Otherwise, you lose your deposit.
Is
Yeah.
there a high risk that your auction property you won't be able to get a loan? Is that a high
Uh,
risk?
yeah. So actually, there is not such a high risk. Most of the time, the bank loan for the auction property is the same as the normal property, as the same as the primary property, right? It's the same, but there's that risk lah. There's that risk. Then how do you find all these auction property? Actually, very simple. Just go Google, type auction properties in Malaysia, right? There's a couple of websites where they list down month by month which bank is having the auction property, what is the property, what are the prices, and things like that. Yeah. So it's all available online and so today lah. Yeah.
Are there any other tips for someone totally new to auction property? Say they do have the
Ah,
funds, they could pay cash if they desire
yes.
to. They've never
So
bought
if
auction
you
property.
Yes. So if you look at the auction property today, right? Actually, the auction property market is quite, I would say, quite attractive at the moment, right? The reason is because if you look at the auction, let's say last year June, for example, right? June to December period, right? Whenever there's a property auction, for one particular bank, I always attend that particular bank's auction. So one particular bank, usually they have about 70, 80 properties for auction at one event, right? And usually they will rent a hotel in KL City Center, and usually the food, the coffee, the cookies, all will be finished before the event starts because there's so many people there, right? Buy or not is another matter. So many people there at the auction, right? Then towards the end of the year, last year, right? Same bank, same venue, same coffee, same cookie, cannot finish. Even after the event ends, you can still get coffee and you can still get cookie. So you just imagine, all the auctioneers are there, all the admins are there, all the bank people are there. There's no people bidding. Not many people are bidding, right? Because auction market is not considered the most attractive market when you compare to primary or the secondary. Yeah. So right now it is very good opportunity. There are many properties that after the third auction still unsold, it is already about 40% below the market. So how auction property works is that the first auction is usually the market price, usually, right? Second auction minus 10%. Third auction minus another 10%. Fourth auction minus another 10% until the property is sold or until somehow the bank go and buy it or whatever lah. Otherwise, you may get an auction property for 40% below market. Where else can you get that, right? So it's very, very interesting and very lucrative, especially auction property lah. And then of course the next question is, hey Charles, the moratorium ending, right? So surely the auction property will increase. Not this year lah, probably next year lah. Because this year I think the banks are all focused on trying to help you to ensure that you can continue repaying rather than trying to get your property and then go and auction and then lose big money. Yeah. So the auction property will be stopped previously.
Yeah, there's so much value, like you mentioned, Charles, in auction property. I like your gauge as well, your copy and cookies gauge to see how much demand there is on the property as well. We also had a question as well, actually. I think this person was actually a MM2H Malaysia, my second home participant.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, they of course have certain requirements by state. The pricing that they can buy for property. So can MMH participants buy auction property?
Actually, it is the same condition. So if the limit is 1 million, then the limit is still 1 million, regardless of whether it's auction property or the new property or secondary property. Depends on the limit, the same limit of the property price, the same limit of the property type, same. There's no difference. Yeah. So yes, they definitely can buy, but if they can only buy 1 million and then they go and win the auction property with 600,000, they cannot buy the 600,000 property.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Charles.
Steve, do we have any more questions?
I think we have one more. Where Charles may have mentioned a little bit about that, but maybe you can share a little bit more insights on what action should investors take with the loan moratorium ending.
Okay. Yeah, I guess this one, go back to basics lah, right? Moratorium ending. Of course, the first question people want to ask me is that will moratorium ending crash the property market? Actually, it won't crash the market lah. Probably a lot of all these people who have been using their mortgage to invest in stock, they will start selling some stocks, or they will stop investing in the stock market, right? But they would start to repay lah for that. So what we need to do is number one is to get back to the basics. Remember 6 months before you were paying your monthly mortgage, right? Get ready to start paying the monthly mortgage lah. Okay. The money that you really need to get ready the money. Then secondly is to stop all those expenses that you did previously, which is to stop them. And if you have a job, get back to basics now. All those all those expenses not needed, better stop them. And this one is very, very important. If you really lost your job, right, and you really not ready to pay the mortgage, contact a bank soon as possible, and start discussing about the potential extension, right? So like even the PM has mentioned, the moratorium can be extended, but it depends on the bank until end of the year, right? So this is something which you need to start understanding. And if you need to start repaying, you better start repaying, because even if you miss just 1 month, there's already a dot in your financial standing, and that's not a good sign if you intend to borrow for your next investment, right? It will take 6 months for it to be cleared lah.
Yeah, definitely will affect your credit report. And yeah, I really like your point about going back to basics there, Charles. Yeah.
And one more thing that I shared the other day with one whole group of people. So moratorium, they say will crash the market. Actually, if you go back to the fundamental, right, all these people who got a loan in the first place, they actually qualified for the loan in the first place. They did not get the loan because they didn't qualify, and then after the moratorium, all of them die. Actually, before that, they qualified for the loan. Remember, long time ago, they were already saying the banks were so tight, refused to lend money. They got a loan, remember? So they actually have the job. As long as they still have the job, they can actually repay the loan. Yeah. It's just that they have been using the money to do something else for the last 6 months, right? Either buying stuff, either do whatever. But right now, they have to start repaying. And fortunately, when they were approved, they actually could qualify for the loan in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good reminder, definitely. Yeah.
Well, here comes the last question. So, what is one big audacious habit or goal that you want our audience to take action now? Which is one thing that people should just start doing right now with no hesitation.
Yeah, I think if you were to ask me, I think make property investment compulsory in your life, right? So if it's a big audacious goal, I think it's very simple. Aim at one property before 30. Aim at another property before 40, and aim at another one before 50, right? So you have 3 properties. By the way, this is not a goal from me. So a super duper property person who's a valuer, very, very senior person. He told me, Charles, everyone must have three properties. I said, why three properties? He said, very simple. One property you sell, then you take that and finance what you want to do, go vacation or whatever, right? One more property, you have to stay there. Oh, yeah, I need a roof over my head, right? Another property, he said, yeah, another property, when you retire, you have no income, right? That property gives you income, law. Oh, okay. Three properties. That's why 30, 40, and 50. And he's a really, really senior person, right? Yeah. So please trust him. If you don't trust me, you need to trust him, right? He said three properties. Yeah. And then one more thing which many years ago someone asked me, hey, how much should I save for my children's education? Actually, if you look at the cost of education, right, it's increasing every year, right? This is the reason why you just buy a property and then forget about it lah. Because when the time they need the study to study, you can actually sell the house and just let them take the money and go study. Yeah, because the house price actually goes up by the house price percent, right? So even if house price every year goes up by 5%, it is by the house price. 500,000, 3%, 500,000, 3%, 3%, 3%, right? Cost of education increases by the living expenses. It is not by the full amount of that, right? So if it's every year you need 100,000, it is 100,000 times 5%. You get my meaning or not? This side would be much faster than this side. Definitely. Yeah, because it is not like you need 500,000, so that's 500,000 times 3. No, it's 100,000 times 3, times 3, times 3. But your house price is 500,000 times 3, times 3, times 3. Yeah.
That's true. That's a larger base. So definitely one of the options to consider for financing your kids' education, your children's education needs.
Right. It's such an interesting chat with you, Charles, and also Steve. Unfortunately, we are running out of time.
Cool.
Right. Yep. So before we end, is there anything else you would like to share with us, or anything that you think you missed out during this 1 hour conversation?
Actually, missed out quite a lot lah, but I guess it's fine. You know, as long as everyone understands that the property investment might be something you want to look into, actually, copiandproperty.com is always free lah. You can just go there, click on the category called Basics to Property Investment. All the articles are there, and I don't sell courses, so you don't need to worry. I also don't sell properties because I'm not a real estate agent. So whatever I tell you is because I personally have done it, have experienced it. Therefore, I tell you, and you don't even need to call me for MRTA or MLTA or whatever. Actually, I don't have the license to sell you anyway, right? Yeah, probably for personal finance stuff, talk to Steve or talk to Catherine is better lah. But if you like to read about property investment, read about what has happened then, what has happened now, what will happen later, those kind of things that you can drop by copiandproperty.com.
I really like the consistency of the articles and how it covers a wide variety of topics. We will be sharing out the links to everyone as well, and also when it goes out on our social media, on Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify as well.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for watching. I really enjoy learning from Charles. Like, if there's one thing that I can pick up from this, there are plenty of things. Like, it's definitely true that Charles has all the unbiased opinion, which is the best way that we can learn. And if I were to take away one thing from this conversation, it should be about the end of, it's the end of the loan moratorium now. So we should go back to the basic on if you have to pay, you pay. Knowing that if you just miss 1 month of the repayment, it will definitely affect your financial standing. Yep. So thank you everyone for listening. You could find the show notes and links on our website, mypf.my/podcat. And don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Hasta pronto.